Uh, I like to talk about today lac caninum. I will give you some information about lac caninum. What makes lac caninum a unique remedy? You see, with our materia medica, what we have to understand is that what is important, what is unique in every remedy. We have to understand that which is unique in every remedy. Because if you take it literally, every remedy almost will have the same symptoms. And there is the emphasis and the accent on one part or another that makes the picture. So what makes lac caninum unique are three things. That the person usually has fears about snakes, spiders, but fears which are tremendously strong. He fears or she fears that snakes are inside her, or the place is full of snakes, dreams of snakes, fears of snakes, the delusions of snakes. That emphasis on that point makes lac caninum unique. If you see such a case, then you don't need almost anything else. There is no other remedy that has this strong fear, delusion, sense of being surrounded by snakes. Children will be terrified. Grown-ups will say that we cannot see a snake on a piece of paper. I mean, if you draw a snake, it gives them the creeps. Seen in television, a snake. They cannot stand it. They will close, they leave the television. This is the idea of fear of snakes. The second most important element is that symptoms go from one side of the body to the other and they return back. That means a headache which is 1 week on the right side, the next week on the left side, the third week on the right side again. Pain on the breast which is on the left side, right side, left again. Pain in the shoulders which is right, left again. You see, it goes alternate sides. If that is the pattern, that again makes a case of lac caninum. And the third most important is that they seem to have a kind of heat in the extremities. Hands, palms, and soles are burning and are sensitive to touch. They don't want to touch. And even the fingers in between them, they will keep them spread apart. The legs, they keep them spread apart. They don't want to touch each other. This heat with the aversion to be touched or the aggravation from being touched belongs again to lac caninum. So lac caninum patients, therefore, do you understand? From these hints, you have to understand, to go inside and understand the character. Do you understand somebody who says, snakes? And what about snakes? I feel that they're around. I mean, what is the imagination? Strong, right? They have a strong imagination. Now, these people, now the idea of having strong imagination, imagining so vividly that snakes are around, that idea becomes important. Strong imagination and excitable. Excitable. They will stay in the night and they will think about different things with their imagination, and that excitability will keep them awake, so they cannot sleep. Sleeplessness from excitability. Why? Because of the imagination. I have thoughts that torments them in the night, and they are excitable, and they think about it, and they get more excited, and they think more, and they get more excited, and they cannot sleep. That element belongs to, and then this imagination, which is strong, will run very easily into delusions. And then we shall have, during fevers, we shall have delusions, which will be around what? Around snakes, spiders, cockroaches, I mean that kind of creepy animals that the caninum patient cannot tolerate, cannot stand. There are people who have a very low kind of esteem about themselves. They lack in self-confidence. And many times we'll see a kind of confusion in the mind, a kind of forgetfulness, memory which is quite weak. It is a mind which becomes tired, the memory becomes weak, and then they start forgetting. And usually forget, they go to buy something. And every time they buy something, almost every time, this is the story, how they say, every time I buy something, I leave it in the shop. They don't take it with them. So they have to go back and get it back. Now the memory is also weak in remembering words. When they write, the word will not come. They will write another word instead of the word that they want to write. Or they use words, they want to use one word and they use another word in speaking. The concentration is difficult. And with that state of mind, concentration difficult, imagination strong, memory weak, they have the sense that everybody else is looking down upon them. I mean, they have the sense that the others, they put them down. Oh, you're not good. You're not. I mean, this is the sense they get about themselves concerning others. And there are people that because of they don't have strong self-confidence, they will get irritated easily, but the irritability will never last. It will be over very quickly. Irritability which is over very quickly. And then we have an element which is strange. When you will find them in an acute state, they are going through a fever, they are now over the most of the acute, and now they are exhausted. During that time, the exhaustion is so great that they don't want to live. That is the time where caninum has loathing of life. They don't want to live. But in their chronic states, they have fear of death, strong fear of death. And they develop different fears like fear of death, which is very strong, fear of diseases, and they have a similarity here with phosphorus. They have fear that something will happen, something bad, but that something bad concerns mostly the health. Fear of having brain damage. Fear also of heart disease. And then we have again fear of thunderstorm, not as strong as in phosphorus, but still there is fear of thunderstorm. Fear of earthquakes. Earthquakes. Well, is a problem with the word? Huh? Oh yeah, they don't, yeah. Right. This is information which comes from cases, from Greek cases mostly. Yes, right. 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 And fear of the dark, but only when they are alone. Now, as the pathology progresses, they may go into a state of manic depressive state. In this manic depressive state, they become quite, in the manic state, they become quite malicious, nasty, malicious, cursing, shouting, cursing, in a rage. They are quite strong in their expression of rage, with a maliciousness, a hatred, nastiness, and all these elements. And then after that state, they go into depression, and during the depression state, they will feel lack of self-confidence, that everybody else is putting them down, they mistrust themselves, they for themselves think, they have the delusion that whatever they say is a lie. And also the element that everybody is looking down upon them. That is quite strong. In children, we have this easy delusion of snakes and fear of snakes very much. And also we have another type of child that becomes mischievous, shrieking especially in nighttime and in sleep. They start easily, and they are very aggressive and cursing. So caninum is a tired remedy, that due to imagination that I have, there is a kind of imagination which is very strong and a physical body which is weak. Now, as a result of that is that with their imagination they want to undertake a lot of things. I'll do this, I'll do that, and I'll do that. They make a project, but they never go through the project. They don't have the energy to carry through the project. in general, we can say the organism seems weak, and if they get a common cold, just a common cold, they may go into coma almost. It's a comatose state. It's a state which resembles remedies like muriatic acid. Very tired, and they just don't want to live. There is a despondency, a state of dissatisfaction, of suffering, and they just don't want to live. They usually, caninum is usually worse cold, but I have found at times that they feel better in cold, crispy weather. When there is snow and the weather is cold and crispy, they feel at their best many times. Another characteristic is during sleep, they sleep in a position. They sleep in a position. I will. Where? Right here. I'm not a very good painter, but. This is the one leg, and this is the other leg. You see? The one leg forms an angle, and the other is straight. Or they sleep in another position that makes them feel better. Is when they sleep, they bring so much the knees to the face. It almost touches the face, very much curled up. So the knees almost touch the face. In that very curled up position, they feel best. And as I said, we have burning of the soles and burning of the feet, and sticks his feet out of covers. This is usual with caninum. They don't want the covers to touch the feet. It's almost painful, and they are burning. Also, another characteristic is that if they have complete darkness in the room, they may have delusions. The darkness makes them have delusions. And the delusions can be of different type, but many times are delusions of faces, bad-looking faces that make face to them, and they are terrified by looking. With caninum, I have seen also a high cholesterol level with high blood pressure, and in such cases we have some kind of sensations going on which are not vertigo exactly, like lying in bed and at the same time feeling that he's not lying, he's not resting in bed, he's kind of floating. And also, when they walk, they don't feel that they walk and touch the ground. They have the delusion as if gliding through the ground. Floating. And during these floating sensations and these kind of feelings which are not grounded, then they develop fear of insanity. Fear they may be going crazy. This looks like a little bit like, in this respect, they resemble cannabis indica. And the floating sensation is very strong with also calcarea arsenicosa, with lachesis, also with mancinella. With the headaches, we said that the main characteristic is the headache goes from one side to the other. Whether the headache is on the side, on the forehead, on the occiput, it's one side and then the other side. So one side and the other, one temple, the other temple. One side of the forehead, the other side. One eye, the other eye, and back again. This is very, very characteristic. The headaches are like belladonna type of headache, throbbing headaches usually. Ferrum also has this type of headaches, and glonoinum. And if you get this kind of headaches, that they start from the midnight onwards, then it becomes a characteristic. Now, if the headache, you see now here how we differentiate from one remedy to the other. If the headache starts at 3 o'clock in the evening, in the afternoon, becomes belladonna. If the headache starts 12 o'clock in the midnight and continues, becomes like caninum. And at the same time, throbbing headache, one-sided headache, can be right or left. The only difference is when you observe the headaches over a period of time, you see the alternation, usually. And the alternation does not have to be exact. One time this, one time that, one time this, one time that side. It might be 2 times the one side and then again left and then again right. But the pattern, more or less, what the patient will describe will be that kind of alternation. It's not going to be exact. One time this and one time that. 1 day right temple, after 7 days left. I mean, you don't expect to see such kind of accuracy. You will have to get the general idea of the patient. Otherwise, in homeopathy, we have words to explain. And I'm trying to give you the idea of the remedy. Now, I believe you are 500 people, and maybe you understand in 500 different ways what I'm saying. So when you see a patient, you apply this knowledge which I'm giving you in one way or another. And that's why the videos become important. Because I have noticed that. I did not No, I thought that everybody recognizes, once I have spoken on a remedy, recognizes the remedy and says, okay, this is this remedy. But given cases on video where I play the videos back, I noticed that I go to the class, I say, okay, now, this can be a case of natrum muriaticum. And the class will say, yes, why not? And I say, no, it cannot be natrum muriaticum. This is not a case of natrum. This cannot be. And I understand it, and then I realize that what I have described with words is not the real experience. The real experience is something different. And that's why I say, don't stick with words. We're talking, I say vivid imagination. Just apply that principle of vivid imagination. I mean, can you imagine yourself, even if you try to imagine that there are snakes around you? You cannot. But the caninum believes that here can be a snake. You say, here is a snake. Just like that, he looks. If there is a snake there. And he knows that you are bluffing. And still the idea is so strong. Now, that becomes a symptom. Pain, headache, which comes in the occiput, and it is by the time he wakes up, again becomes a characteristic of caninum. Pain in the occiput on waking, on the occiput, on waking. It's as if the whole night is building up. By the moment he wakes, the pain is very severe. Then it becomes a keynote for caninum. Also, another keynote is if this pain extends in the forehead, it becomes very important for caninum, like also gelsemium and which other remedy? Sanguinaria. With the sanguinaria, what it becomes important is that we'll usually vomit with such headache. They will get up, go and vomit, and then they will feel better. That case becomes now sanguinaria. With the gelsemium, what? With this kind of headache, the eyes will be involved, and they will feel really the heaviness in the eyelids. The heaviness in the eyelids will become prominent, and then becomes a characteristic of gelsemium. We say gelsemium has heaviness in the eyelids. It's not only, it is a paralytic state which continues, which carries on, which seals gelsemium, the paralysis. And then where it appears, mostly the paralysis. You see it here in the eyelids, and the eyelids drop. It would be nice if I could sleep now. The eyelids drop. You will see one eyelid is paralytic. It can be completely down, and the legs also will be paralysis. I mean trembling. Then that becomes gelsemium. But you see, caninum will have this headache, and his feet will be sticking out of covers, like sanguinaria. Sanguinaria also will have this kind of occipital headache, extending to the forehead, feet warm, sticks out of covers. What is the differentiation point? The vomiting. Caninum will not have vomiting. Sanguinaria will have vomiting, and vomiting ameliorates. And also, caninum can have a headache, which may in one day alternate sides. In one day, it can start in the morning on the right and goes in the left in the noontime. By the evening, returns to the right. The caninum will never vomit with a headache. No, it will vomit, but it will not be the usual thing. With sanguinaria, will vomit, yes, usually. Sometimes will not vomit. Sanguinaria will have headaches, but will not vomit. There will be other characteristics to describe, but we say as a main characteristic what is happening is this. With caninum, we have severe photophobia, a sensitiveness to light, especially light of the sun. They don't care about artificial light. In the ears, they have a keynote, which is sounds feel that come from very far. They do not have the sensation, the exact sensation from where the noise is coming. The noises are coming from very far. In the nose we have coldness, and also alternating discharge will be alternating. One nostril and then the other. The discharge is green discharge, is profuse discharge, is thick discharge. Now it looks like calibichromicum. And in caninum you may have sometimes as they swallow, there is some kind of liquids that may go back into the nose of wrong peristalsis that happens and the liquids come back to the nose. Obstruction in nose, again, one time one nostril, the other time the other nostril. In the mouth, we have a characteristic that sometimes food does not taste good for caninum. No food will taste good, but only salty food. Salty food will taste okay. And also that fish is a good food for them. Also, we have a lot of cracking in the jaws as he eats the food, which is a characteristic of some other remedies like nitric acid and rastox. Very good. The throat, again in the throat, the same idea. The left side, the right side, the left side, the right side, right? And caninum is strong in pain in the throat on swallowing the saliva. Swallowing the saliva. I give you only the keynotes. I don't go into... In desires, what we have as keynote desires, strong desires, about salt, Desire, salt is very strong with caninum. And desires also what kind of drinks, cold or warm drinks? Warm drinks. These two keynotes, desires salt and desires warm drinks. In the ovaries, what you will have? Pains in the ovaries, which again alternate sides. There is a characteristic here that if you have it, again is a keynote, that pains in the ovaries are ameliorated by stretching back the body. And we have also from, for the woman, flatus from the vagina. A lot of emission of flatus from the vagina, which is characteristic in lycopodium also. Lycopodium and phosphoric acid also has that. Pain in the uterus also that extends upwards. We have an increase in the desire for sex, an easy orgasm, but usually they are exhausted after sex. There are different pains of back pains, pains that they change place in the back easily. Again, in the sciatica, we have alternating sides. Alternating pains from hip to hip. You see, this is all you have to remember. There are three things. In reality, there are certain principles that if you go to all materia medicas, and you will find the same things repeated in different ways. You grasp the idea of the remedy, and then when you see a case, you say, now this is a case of like caninum. You grasp the idea of curare, There's some peculiarities there. You have it, and then you see it, and then you recognize it. That is how you can become good prescribers in homeopathy. It is not if you try to go to the letter, it says, go to the repertory and try to find a phrase that the patient says, and try to find this phrase in the repertory. You will never. Life is something multi-facet and too many levels, too many facets, it's something moving all the time. Now you can't just make it what's called because we eat these tins, the meat that I have in a tin, what's called this? Cans. You can make cans with human lives, you see. There is a human being there, and you cannot reduce him to one phrase. But you can understand the principles. He's too much imagination. Now, you get a caninum, and he will not have this fear of snakes. The imagination will be there. He will not be able to sleep in the night. He says, I have, and the anxiety is there, the anxiety about health, the anxiety about others, the fear of the disease is there, the fear that he will have a brain stroke, his cholesterol level is high, his blood pressure is high, and this is a caninum case. And there is no alternation. One time you will see the alternation, the other time you will see the fear of snakes, the other see the imagination is strong, the other thing is this loathing of life at the same time. He does not want to die, he's afraid to die. What kind of dreams he sees? What is his dreams? Snakes. Yeah. You see, we're talking about the alternating sides, and it has been observed that a caninum can be one day worse in the morning, and the next day is worse in the evening. That means whatever he has a pain in the hip, which is one day is worse in the morning, the next day is worse, and again, worse morning, worse evening, that is alternating. That is the idea of alternation again. You don't have to have it one side to the other. But you have to have it moving in a regular way. I didn't hear that. Must be a good remark you made. What did you say? Some are Democrats and some Republicans. What happened? We give them like caninum to everybody, so become united. Yes, I agree. I agree. We very soon have to be united, and I stop fighting and stop doing all this nonsense, because I feel really desperate. I'll tell you that. I don't know how you feel, but if I see the situation, what is going on in the world today, in this planet, at that moment, it's phenomenal. I mean, I'm traveling perhaps too much and I see too much, and I have a perception which is much broader. But really, I am in desperation, in despair. What about my interval? Okay, let me have an interval and I'll continue. I will give you the Lilium tigrinum after that. No.